Hi, this is Bill Paxton. Let's take a look at the 4R model of transformational leadership. This is the model developed by Dr. Mark McCloskey of Bethel Seminary. This is going to be just an overview. There will be other videos and narrated PowerPoints to explain all the different parts of the 4R model in more detail. I think it's important to say something about the nature of models because you're going to see a lot of models in the MBA program. Models are simply a representation of reality. They tell us something important about the reality that they represent. A map would be a good example of a model that you've used. Maps can be very useful. They can simplify things, give you important information, but it's important to remember that the map is not the terrain. That is, the model is never the same as the reality. The reality is always going to be more complex and more messy and harder to get a handle on. Maps simplify things for us and help us understand the important key features of the reality. You'll recall that what sets transformational leadership apart from other types of leadership isn't necessarily that tasks get completed, or that goals get met, or that customers and stakeholders are satisfied. All of those things happen, yes. But what sets transformational leadership apart is, in the process of doing all those other things, the organization has been transformed. It's more like who it aspires to be. It's more able to live out its organizational values, and it's closer to fulfilling its purpose. An important part of the 4R model is understanding that anybody can be a transformational leader inside their organization. They might be a big L leader with a C-level title, or a small L leader who is a sole contributor. But anybody can facilitate the transformation of the organization by embodying the vision and the values of the organization and encouraging others to do the same. So don't think that the 4R model is something that you have to wait to implement until you are a C-level personnel. It's something that you can begin to do right where you are next week. The first R in the 4R model is relationships. And you can see from this chart, when we talk about relationships in the 4R model, we're talking about the leader's relationship with God, with self, and with others. We like to say that we lead from the inside out, and that our doing flows from our being. And so it's very important for transformational leaders to understand what it is that makes up their being. Who are they really inside? Who are they when no one's looking? What are their deepest values? That's why transformational leadership is built on the classic virtues. Let's take a look at some of those virtues. Here's a list of the classic virtues. Now, as you look at this, ask yourself a couple questions. Do I know anybody who embodies all of these virtues? What would it be like to follow somebody who did? And perhaps most importantly, how would others rate me today on these virtues? Would they see them in my life? If not, what would I want to do about it? These are important questions to consider as you think about your personal leadership development plan, which you'll develop during this course. There are certain capacities that are required for transformational leaders. We're going to refer to this configuration of capacities as DICE plus 1. And when a leader fails in one of these areas or has a shortcoming, when there's a noticeable lack of one of these capabilities, we sometimes say he or she has a hole in their dice boat. The first of these capabilities is dynamic determination. This is the leader's ability to stay with it over the long haul. Without this, leaders tend to give up before the goal is reached, before the vision is realized. Intellectual flexibility is the ability to see what's really going on. It's being able to see how the pieces make up the whole picture, and which of those pieces are important and which aren't. Characterological soundness, also known as courageous character, is the ability to do the right thing consistently. It involves keeping in mind the best interest of all the stakeholders, including oneself. The next capacity is emotional maturity. That means being able to process life's experiences, as well as one's emotional reaction to them, in a healthy way. It also means dealing successfully with the stress that will inevitably come with leadership. One can't be a leader without the ability to partner with other people. That's especially true for the transformational leader, and how well he or she can do that is going to depend upon how well the other 4 DICE capabilities have been built into his or her life. Every transformational leader fulfills 4 roles. As you can see, they are direction setter, spokesperson, coach, and change agent. Here are the 4 roles placed on a 2x2 grid. We should probably pause and say this is the first of a jillion 2x2 grids you will see in the MBA program. But I want to encourage you to pause the video at this point and see if you can discern why each one of these roles was placed in the quadrant that it's in. Dr. McCloskey says that leadership is the art and the science of taking individuals and groups to a new and a better place. Leadership is all about movement. We're here today, we're going there tomorrow. And that's why one of the natural roles for a transformational leader to fulfill has to be direction setter. When you think of the spokesperson role, don't think of one-way communication. I think that's the common idea that we often have about a corporate spokesperson, for instance. Think of this role more as a liaison, somebody who facilitates communication between the organization and the environment. And there's a two-way flow of information that's going on, and it's all facilitated by the spokesperson role. In the coaching role, the transformational leader ensures that other transformational leaders are being raised up and developed within the organization. Leaders are all about change. If you don't need change, you don't need a leader, you need a manager. And when the leader is actively engaging the organization in changing things, improving processes, moving the organization forward, he or she is acting in the change agent role. Well, the third R of the 4R model is responsibilities, and as you can see, there are 4 of them. Let's take a look at each one. The first responsibility is vision casting. It's up to the leader to be able to describe where we are going, but beyond that, to describe it in such a way that people actually want to go there. For people to believe in a vision, they have to believe it's doable. And so that's why strategy formulating is one of the responsibilities of every transformational leader. You don't have to have all the answers, you don't have to have all the details, but at some high level, you have to be able to say, here's how we're going to go about reaching our vision. Aligning is all about making sure that the people, the processes, and the procedures are all focused on attaining the vision. Knowing how to motivate or provide motivation is absolutely critical for a transformational leader. Every time a vision is cast, it's going to mean some change, and change is always met with resistance. To help people overcome that, the transformational leader has to know how to create a motivating environment. Here's a graphical part of our model that needs a little bit of explanation. What we want to communicate here is that all 4 of the responsibilities are found in each of the 4 roles. So for instance, all 4 responsibilities are part of direction setter. All 4 responsibilities are part of change agent, and so forth. Every leader is held responsible for results. And in the 4R model, the 4th R, results, breaks down into 3 different areas. The first is quantitative. These are the numbers. What were the sales? What was the revenue? The second is qualitative. This can be a little bit more difficult to measure. These are the soft things like morale. And the third is contextual results. And this takes a look at both the quantitative and the qualitative and asks questions like, how long did this outcome take to happen? How much did it cost in dollars and human resources and leadership attention? Did this outcome happen in a manner that is healthy and sustainable? And is it a sustained pattern or a heroic effort, a spurt of energy? This is our graphical representation of the 4R model. You'll find a PowerPoint version of this on Moodle, and my suggestion is to download it and save it to your computer, not only for this class, but for future classes. Well, this has been just the tip of the iceberg. You'll be learning more about each of the 4Rs in other presentations in this class.